The sun hung lazily in the sky, casting golden rays upon the bustling market of Lagos. It was a place where traders shouted at the top of their voices, bargaining and beckoning passers-by to buy their goods. The scent of roasted corn, fried plantains, and freshly cut fruits mixed with the sharp aroma of sweat and dust, creating an atmosphere of organized chaos. Among the crowd was a young man named Emmanuel, a 24-year-old orphan who had come from a small village in Edo State in search of a better life. But fate had been unkind to him since birth. Emmanuel was born into poverty. His parents had died when he was just 5, leaving him in the care of his aged grandmother. Life in the village was nothing short of cruel. Every morning, while other children excitedly ran to school with their books tucked under their arms, Emmanuel followed his grandmother to the farm. His tiny hands learned to hold a cutlass long before they ever held a pencil. Hunger was a constant companion, and the nights were long and cold. At the village stream, where he fetched water daily, he would sometimes overhear conversations of other children talking about their dreams, becoming doctors, engineers, or even teachers. Emmanuel had dreams too, but they seemed too far away, swallowed by the harsh reality of his life. The only thing he knew for sure was that he wanted more. He wanted to escape the cycle of suffering that had defined his life. When he turned 18, tragedy struck again. His grandmother, the only family he had left, passed away. With no money for a proper burial, the villagers helped lay her to rest in a shallow grave behind their crumbling mud house. Emmanuel sat beside that grave for hours, wondering what was next. There was nothing left for him in the village, no family, no future. With the little money he had borrowed from an old friend of his grandmother's, he made the toughest decision of his life, to leave for Lagos. Lagos was not the paradise he had imagined. The city was alive, but not in the way he had hoped. Instead of opportunities, he was met with hardship. He slept on the cold cement floors of a mechanic workshop, waking up every day to the sound of car engines roaring to life. Every morning, he would wander the streets, looking for work. He carried heavy loads for traders, washed cars, and even tried his hand at selling sachet water in traffic. But no matter how hard he worked, he barely made enough money to eat. Hunger gnawed at his stomach, and at night, when he lay on his makeshift bed of flattened curtains, he questioned if he had made the right choice by coming to Lagos. But he was not a thief. No matter how tough life got, he refused to steal. His grandmother had taught him that dignity was worth more than gold. And so, he struggled, hoping that one day, his fortune would change. One fateful afternoon, Emmanuel found himself at Balogun Market, hoping to find a day's job to earn money for food. He stood near a fruit vendor, watching the crowd with hopeful eyes, when suddenly, a man's loud voice echoed through the air. "Thief! Thief! He stole my phone." Heads turned. People looked around, confused. Then, the man, whose name was Richard, pointed straight at Emmanuel. "Catch him! He took my phone!" Richard yelled again. Before Emmanuel could react, a mob had already formed around him. Panic set in. He raised his hands in defense, his voice shaking. "I swear, I didn't take anything. Please listen to me," he pleaded, but his words fell on deaf ears. A slap landed across his face, followed by another. Within seconds, fists and kicks rained down on him. The crowd, fueled by anger and the excitement of mob justice, showed no mercy. His screams of innocence were drowned out by their shouts. Blood trickled down his face, his vision blurred. He felt himself slipping away as the pain became unbearable. Someone picked up a large stone, ready to strike him down completely. Richard, the man who had accused him, watched in horror. The situation had escalated far beyond what he had intended. He had only wanted to scare the thief, not kill him. But now, as he saw Emmanuel lying almost lifeless on the ground, guilt crawled into his heart. Fearful that the situation would backfire on him, he slipped away from the crowd, rushed to his car, and drove off. His hands trembled as he clutched the steering wheel. His heart pounded in his chest. He had to forget this. He had to move on. As he drove, something strange happened. A familiar sound echoed in his car, the ringing of his phone. His breath hitched. Slowly, he reached under his seat, and there it was, the very phone he had accused Emmanuel of stealing. His body went cold. Tears welled in his eyes as realization dawned upon him. He had just condemned an innocent soul to death. A young man, probably someone's son, someone's brother, maybe someone's only hope. Back at the market, the police finally arrived, but it was too late. Emmanuel lay motionless, his dreams crushed, his innocence unspoken. He had died for a crime he never committed. Days turned into weeks, and Richard found no peace. Nightmares haunted him. The image of Emmanuel's bloodied face would not leave his mind. He stopped eating, stopped sleeping. His conscience became his worst enemy. He wanted to confess, but fear held him back. What would he say? That he had caused an innocent man's death over a mistake. He was a murderer, not by his hands, but by his words. And there was no running from that truth. He quit his job, isolated himself, and spiraled into depression. The guilt was unbearable. No amount of prayer or self-forgiveness could erase what he had done. He had destroyed a life with a single accusation. Emmanuel's story serves as a painful reminder of the power of words. A single accusation, a careless assumption, and an innocent life was lost. Mob justice is never justice. An accusation is not proof of guilt. And a human life should never be so easily discarded. Richard continues to live with the weight of his actions, but Emmanuel's story must be told. Let his death not be in vain. Let it be a warning to those quick to judge, quick to condemn. Think before you speak. Think before you act. Because a single word can destroy a life, and once that life is lost, no amount of regret can bring it back. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe and share. God bless you.